All right, it's a Thursday night, time for our Las Vegas Triathlon Club member spotlight, and at least two of us are not in Vegas. So tonight we've got Jay Correa as our guest. Hey, Jay, how's it going?
It's going great. Happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this. And both Jay and I are in Oceanside. We're probably 2 or 3 hotels apart from each other at this point. So we probably should have just met and done this in person. But this is going to be a lot of fun because Jay's new to the Las Vegas area, and we've already ridden together, and we've connected across paths, and it's just so much fun to have Jay join our endurance community. And it's really neat to have him as, really a strong athlete, and then also just a great guy. And it's going to be a lot of fun talking with him tonight, learning more about his story. But before I get too far, I'm going to turn it over to Bob Gamble for our official introduction. Hey, Bob, how's it going?
It's going great, John. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And Jay, thanks a lot for being with us tonight. And the very first question is, you're not related to Chick Correa because you spell your name a little differently, right? You
No,
probably get that quite a bit.
he's got 1 R. I have double R's.
That's right. That's right.
I'm a musician as well. That's the good news about it.
Oh, good. We'll talk about that too. Let me just bring the group up to speed here. Jay is new to Las Vegas and is new to the club, but he's not new to triathlon. He's done 12 70.3s. He's done three full Ironman. He's done his very first race was an Olympic, and he's done sprints. So he's quite an experienced triathlete, even though he's only been in the sport for 5 years now. So and again, Jay came from Miami, and he's already done a bunch of the club events, and he's very active in the club. So we're excited to have him in here. He's quite a character, as you'll find out. So Jay, welcome, and thanks for being in the club, and thanks for being on tonight. And as John mentioned, folks, they're both down in Oceanside, and Jay's doing Oceanside for the first time.
Yeah.
So you've done those breakers before? You've gone out into breakers?
I used to surf when I lived in California in the
You're
past.
fine.
So I'm not afraid of the breakers at all, but yeah, I'm gonna try them tomorrow.
Yeah, they're all right. Well, get us started. Tell us what brought you from Miami to Vegas, and what is it like? How does training in Miami compare to training in Vegas? And what's your impression so far of the Las Vegas area?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Bob. Thank you, John, for having me. I appreciate you guys so much. Even though I've been in Las Vegas for such a short time, I felt so welcomed by the team, and the training sessions that I had with John. I was super impressed by how nice I've been received. So anyways, I love it. So far, so good. I love the transition. I came to Las Vegas as a part of a promotion in my job. I work in healthcare, and my company offered me a new position. And then for that new position, I had to be somewhere in the West Coast. I work mostly from home, and I travel a lot. And I chose Vegas. I have some friends in Vegas, and there are some tax benefits as well. So I chose Henderson. I'm in Green Valley area, and I'm loving it. The training is amazing. I'm having to relearn how to ride my bike, because in Miami it's always flat. I had to change my ring. I had a single ring in the past. I had to put a double ring now because I had a lot of more timing to do. But I'm really enjoying it, and yeah, it's beautiful. And in terms of the training, how that changed from Miami to Las Vegas, it changed dramatically, to be honest. I used to live in an island in Miami called Key Biscayne, and I used to walk outside of my door, and I would go and I would swim in the ocean, pretty much like tropical waters and easy. Here, I'm missing that part. That's the part I'm missing the most, is the ocean water. But I'm loving the mountains. And the cycling experience for me here, in Vegas, is much nicer. I believe I'll become a much better cyclist after my training sessions in the Vegas Valley. And yeah, in terms of running, doesn't make much difference. It's just hard to find a flat course to run.
Yeah, there's nothing flat here unless you're on a high school track.
Exactly. And in my training, I love data. So since I started, I work in data, I work in informatics. And since I started training, I collect a lot of data from any types of gadgets that you can imagine. Today, they talk a lot about the Norwegians collecting data. Even before I knew anything about the Norwegians, I was already collecting a lot of data. I have a degree in clinical science, so I like the science of the body. I like to know what's happening with my body when I'm pushing in different efforts. So I do a lot of that. I'm self-coached. I was telling John the other day, my weakness is my swimming. So I always have a swim coach that's
Right.
always helping me to get better in my swimming. And I've been making some progress. But for cycling and running, I decided to be my own coach because I do too much research and I tried too many different things. I thought it was unfair for me to be under a coach and not follow strictly their guidelines. So it's working for me. I'm happy with the results that I'm achieving with my running and my cycling. My swimming, it's going to take a while to get to be good. I'm okay right now. I'm much better than I was 5 years ago. I could not cross the pool. That I was a terrible swimmer. I didn't know how to swim at all. And it's taken a while. And I think the last 12 months, I got to the point where I feel a little more comfortable now with my swimming.
And yeah, there's a lot of stuff to unpack in what you just said right there. So for one thing, folks listening, Jay said he's not that good of a swimmer, but we can differ with this because the man has done sub 12 Ironman.
Yeah.
So it's like you are not going to do a sub 12 if you can't swim a little bit well. And also the cycling, I see you're a very strong cyclist, and these hills are just going to make you stronger. Was there the same kind of wind in Vegas, in Miami that there is here?
Yeah, wind is part of living in an island in Key Biscayne. We dealt with a lot of wind as well. So wind is not news to me. Yeah, the elevation is. And when you put elevation plus headwinds, and then it gets a little challenging.
Are you signed up for St. George?
No, I'm not, because I'm doing the Letapé.
I was going to say you want to talk wind and hills.
Yeah, I didn't know. If I knew better, I would have probably done St. George, because I want to go back to that course and redeem myself, because I don't know if I mentioned that, but I was called for the World Championship last year for the Ironman. And I think I said that. I didn't finish the race. And it was the first time ever that I didn't finish a race. I have a strong desire to go back to St. George and to complete that course and just to feel this vengeance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I can tell with the kind of intensity and passion you have, and the hills around here, you're gonna own St. George. So that's for your first race. To qualify this. I'm getting ready for that, but I've never done those hills at St. George, other than on Ruvi, on the app. So it's gonna be tough, but I know that you're strong enough to handle that for sure.
Well,
Yeah, I don't mind any challenge on the cycling course. Even if it's challenging, I will make my way around. Swimming is always where I need to be very careful. I need to be very conservative on my swimming, because if my heart rate goes too high, I can struggle. But I will be doing on the May 7th, I'll be doing the cycling race by Tour de France here in Vegas.
The tap thing.
So that's why I cannot do St. George. Otherwise, I would do St. George as well.
So Jay, the good thing is we have a saying locally that if you can train in Vegas, you can race anywhere. And so it will be great to see how your racing goes after training in Vegas for a while. But I want to take a step back and even hear a little bit more about how you even found triathlon, because you are 5 years, 6 years into the sport, which means you started at a little bit later age than some folks.
I did. Yeah. Thank you for the question, John. I as a Brazilian, I played soccer my whole life, so running was never an issue for me. I always run. But when I moved to California I think it was 2009, the company moved me to the Bay Area, and I lived for 5 years in California. Even though I did some cycling as a young man, but it was just for entertainment, not really competitive cycling or any serious cycling at all. But in 2009, living in the Bay Area, I met a friend that got me into cycling. Excuse me. And then I started riding with him every Saturday. and it's so beautiful. If you go to the Bay Area, you go to the Santa Cruz Mountains, and you go to the San Gregorio Beach on the other side, then you come back. So I fell in love with cycling, and I began to cycling a lot. Again, she started in 2009, and I was not young either. I was already probably what, 40, I don't know, maybe 45.
Yeah.
And but I kept cycling going until there was a situation in my family that I had to move. My job became remote. Now, when I was in the Bay Area, I was going to the office every day, but there was a point that my job changed and I began to work from home. And at that time, my son was in the East Coast and he was having some health problems with his wife. So my wife and I decided to move to the East Coast to be close to them. And that's when we moved to Miami. When we got to Miami, it was, I really I didn't use my bike for almost a year because I didn't know the fact that it didn't have hills, it didn't have mountains. And then I started running again. I started going out and running. I started doing marathons and half marathons. And yeah, that's what I was doing and then when I moved to Key Biscayne, this island in Miami, I met a friend called Andy Australia. Actually, I talked to him yesterday. And he was doing triathlon. He was the one pushing me to go with him. And I said, but I can't swim. And he said, no, you can learn. You're gonna learn. And then I said, okay, I'll do it. And then I went. I registered myself on a place in there that is a swimming pool. And I started learning how to swim. As I say, and I'm not exaggerating at all. I couldn't cross the pool without stopping. 25 yards, by the way, not 50.
Oh, yeah.
And I could not do 100. It took me probably, I don't know, maybe 3 months to do 100. But anyways, I started.
Yeah, that you realize how normal that is. People. I mean, that's why it's not shocking at all.
And that was 5 years ago. And I knew from the get-go that swimming would be a challenge, but I said, hey, I'm going to wrestle through it. So I did. I wrestled with him. And because he was doing an Olympic, I wrestled with him. And by the way, let me correct that. It was not an Olympic, it was an international. Because the international swim course is a little bit shorter. It's the same distance for the bike, the same distance for the run, but the swim course is a little bit shorter. I think the Olympic is 900 meters and the international distance is 500 meters. So it was a 500-meter swim.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I did that race. And yeah, I struggled with the swim as I expect. I had to stop like 3 or 4 times in the buoys and catch my breath and kept going.
Oh, yeah.
And once I finished the swim, I got on the bike and that was all good. And I finished the bike, I finished the run. And boy, I got super excited about the sport. I caught the bug and I cannot think about anything else ever since.
Well, that's wonderful.
Every day I go to bed and I wake up always thinking about how I can get better at swim, bike, and run.
And you are actually living the motto and the mantra for this year's club that John came up with and it's to thrive. And it sounds like you, through triathlon, you are actually thriving.
I am. I'm super happy. I'm turning 58 this year in November.
Oh, you're a young pup.
Yeah, I'm not so young. I consider myself honestly in the best shape of my life. And just to make it fun, the other day, my son-in-law came to visit us. I was in Miami still. He's 24 years old. He plays soccer for varsity. Like he's almost a soccer coach, a very athletic man. Mm-hmm. And he came and I went for a run with him and we went like a 10-mile run. And the first 5 miles I went with him, like just jogging and make sure that it was on the way back. I said, let's see what this guy got. push little by little, pushing the pace. And I could just hear his breathing pattern changing from side of me. And then I looked behind him, he was gone. He was nowhere to be found. And then when he came, I said, hey, where have you been? I was just making a little bit of fun of well, at that time, he was my future son-in-law. They got married last year, and now he is officially my son-in-law.
Yeah, all right. You had to test him out a little bit.
Exactly. He's just 24 at the time.
I love this. And Jay, I love the story of you getting involved and not knowing how to swim in your 40s and then picking it up. And like Bob said, you're sort of just going through that really quickly, but that is really impressive. And it's so great for people to hear that you started out really struggling with even doing a length. And now you're doing, full Ironmans, half Ironmans regularly. So I'm curious, when you started on the start line of your first race, not having a lot of swim experience, what were you thinking about then? And then jump forward to what you're going to be thinking about on Saturday as now an experienced triathlete on the start line. What's going through your mind back then, and what's going through your mind on Saturday?
Thanks for the question, John. That's actually the essence of this phase I am in right now in triathlon. And to answer your question very directly, I struggle. I only stopped struggling with swimming in my race at 70.3 Santa Cruz, September last year.
Okay.
So at Santa Cruz, something happened with my swimming technique that changed the whole thing. So just to have an idea, in May last year, when I have the issue at St. George, I tried to swim out combination of altitude, dry air and cold water. 600 yards into the swim, I panicked. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't catch my breath, and I had to get out of the of the reservoir.
Were you in a wetsuit?
I was.
Okay.
I was. Yeah. And so, but anyways, what happened? I hired. In my 5 years, I tried the best swimming coach I could find. Was struggling, but something changed about me with my last coach. That you probably know, she's a world champion, Leander Cave.
Yep. Yep.
So Leander taught me a little bit more about how to keep my balance, because remember, our lungs are like bubbles, like, and they have a tendency to make you more buoyant on your chest. And I have big legs, and then they sink. So you have to push your chest a little bit more to be able to balance your body in the water. And once you feel more balanced, everything becomes easy. Boy, that was a big change for me. And I did some tests, even in the pool, where I would just not even swim, I would just float, and push my chest down on the water. And then I saw that I was able to float. I said, well, what do I have to be fearful for? If I can float, I just need to, because moving my hands, athletic ability was never my issue. My issue, honestly, was kind of a fear. And I trained like that from May all the way to September. When I went to Santa Cruz, I went with that concept. I'm gonna float and I'm gonna enjoy and take my time. Easy. And
Boy,
that's
I am so glad that you're saying this and people are listening. You know, as far as you're relaxed and balanced in the water, and your chest is down, legs are coming up.
Exactly. And if anybody that's listening to this needs any encouragement, and please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to share my experience with you. To answer your question, John, until Santa Cruz last year, every race I had to do, I was freaking out on the start line. I was not because of the bike or because of the swim. I always looked at the swim course, and I didn't have the confidence that I would be able to finish the course. That's nothing more scary than that. But when I went to Santa Cruz, I was like, I had that conviction, say, I got this. And sure enough, I started my swim, and I went all the way from the beginning to the end without stopping.
Yeah.
And I came out of the water feeling super fresh, like I had done nothing. And
warm up.
The same thing happened with my full Ironman in November in Cozumel. I did my full Ironman in Cozumel, and that was even more challenging because it was no wetsuits. I was just with swim skin. The same concept. I pushed my chest down. I tried to stay balanced in the water and try to relax, and breathe properly. Learning breathing techniques also is very important. I did a lot of the square breathing, like 1, 2, 3, 4 in, hold for 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4, out, and doing some breathing techniques that help me to calm down. As you can tell by the tone of my voice, I'm a little bit intense type of guy. So I have always to remember myself on the water. It's not about power. It's not about trying too hard. On the water. It's all about relaxing and proper technique. Think about what you need to do when you enter your hands, when you're pulling your catch and pull, and trying to relax your legs. Don't try to kick too strong. Just let them hang in there, and you'll be fine.
This is so powerful what you're saying. And I'm so glad you articulated that so well. Relaxed, balanced, breathing, not struggling, not power. You just, that was wonderful. We're gonna have to capture that and put it in a video, and
running and biking is all about power.
Yeah.
And it's easy for me because I'm by nature, I think I'm a power athlete. It's something that comes easy to me, but I'm not a super relaxed type of person or personality. So I struggle. That's why I was struggling in the water, because if you try to swim with power, pure power, especially with someone that doesn't have a swimming background, you're gonna struggle. And I think that's when I see that a lot with other triathletes as well.
Mhm.
I love this. And what I really love about it, Jay, is you're talking about struggling with one of the disciplines in triathlon. In this case, it's swimming, but yet you're not discouraged. And you're almost just matter of fact saying, oh, I had this problem and I went and fixed it. And I love that approach. And I think that's what really helps people move forward in the sport, is to say, okay, this is a part I need to work on. And then they go and do it. And so it's really such a great, inspiring part of your story.
And that's the
Yep.
beauty of triathlon, to be honest. You're never done. You're always evolving. And when I go to the starting line, I'm not even thinking about the other age groupers. To be fair, I do my research, but I'm always competing against myself primarily. My goal is always to be better than I was the last race.
I love it. All right.
John, whenever John does these podcasts from his home, on the wall behind him, it says your greatest competitor is yourself. And so you actually are articulating that well as well. Is that the right words, John? It
is, yes. And I love that saying, because it's really it's us competing with ourselves. But speaking of that, I'm curious, Jay, of all the races you've done, which has been your favorite one and why?
Wow, that's a great question. I'm gonna have to, if I have to, my favorite race was, well, I'll tell was when I got my PB, was Ironman 70.3 North Carolina.
Yeah.
It was a easy swim. I did well on the bike, did well on the run. My time was 4:56.
Wow.
And I took a lot of time in my transition, by the way, that race. I could have done that race in 4:39. And that's my goal for my race in Oregon in July this year. Yeah. My goal, and I'm working toward that, to finish that race at under 4:40. Yeah. But let me tell you this, in terms of the course, my favorite race was Ironman 70.3 Santa Cruz. Okay. I didn't have the same, I was not as fit as I was for North Carolina, so I didn't finish as well. But let me say, I take it back. It's Ironman North Carolina, actually my time was 5:08. My 4:56 was in Clash Daytona. Okay. Let me correct the record. So Ironman North Carolina was 5:08. My 70.3 Clash Daytona, that was the one that was 4:56. Okay. But anyway, Santa Cruz is an amazing triathlon course. If you guys haven't have a chance to race there, you should. The bike course is across the Pacific highway, so you have the ocean always on your side. You're seeing the ocean. It's very, you have the hills a little bit, but it's rolling hills, and the running course going to a park that's a combination of tarmac and gravel, and it's gorgeous race.
Well, you're going to love Oregon then. I think you will.
I can't wait to do Oregon. I'm super excited about that. That's my race A this year.
Okay. A beautiful gravel and asphalt paved through a beautiful shaded park. It's very nice. And the swim, you're going to annihilate the swim.
I know. That's why I'm there.
I love it, Jay. And okay, so now let's look forward. And what do you have for 2023?
So I have a lot going on, but I think there's one race that I'm probably going to have to scratch. So I'm registered for, of course, this week I'm doing Oceanside. Then in 2 weeks, I'm running the Boston Marathon.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if
How did you qualify for that? What?
Yeah, last year I took second place at the Miami Marathon for my age group. Oh. And that was huge. that was huge. I was very close to be first. I just missed it by a little bit. I finished the whole marathon. I think it was 4. It was 3:26.
Mhm.
Wow.
And the
Yeah,
qualifying for 55-59 is for 3:30.
3:30, yeah, 3:30 something. I was 10 minutes. I had a 10 minutes cushioning
That's amazing.
to
That's
make it to
Yeah, it is.
Boston.
yeah.
But you know, the funny thing is that I'm not really fit to run in Boston, but I'm going anyways, just for the fun of it. I'm not training for that race. I'm not competing. I'm going for the fun. And then I come back from Boston Marathon, and then I have this L'Etape
Mhm.
in the Tour de France cycling race on May 7th in the Red Rock Canyon. And then I will be training really, really hard for Oregon 70.3.
Yeah.
That's the race that I'm going with
Yeah.
for blood.
Yeah.
Then, but before that, actually, I'm registered for Ironman 7.3 Hawaii, but I think I'm going to scratch that and I'm going to go to Hawaii next year.
Yeah.
They don't have Kona this year, and that race is a race that qualifies for the Kona. So maybe next year will be a better time to go.
You're right.
And so after Oregon, my next race will be Ironman California.
Mhm.
And, you know, since we are here, we are talking, I'll confess, my dream is to finish Ironman California under 10 hours.
Mhm.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
I love
I
it.
think, I believe I have that in me.
Yeah.
I just need to make sure I train for it.
Oh, I love it. And, I love just the way that you're talking about it, in that it's very much an internal motivation for you, and it comes
Yeah.
across that way, and that's great. And we all need that, and that's always something good to drive us to go forward. So I love hearing these goals that you have set out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's-
one thing I want to add about your goals is the fact that you've done things that were kind of fearful for you, as far as in the wind, in the swim, and you did them anyway. And you can't have courage if you're not afraid of something, you're somewhat a little bit afraid of something. So you're a very courageous triathlete as well as an adaptive one. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Jay, how about talk a little bit about what you would tell yourself 5 years ago about where you're at right now?
My gosh, I would never imagine what I would tell myself about where I am right now. I don't know, I would think that I'm crazy. Yeah, I never imagined that I would be doing triathlon. I always thought that would be something for those people that leave for training. And I don't know, it's just happened so organically to me.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, I will be honest with you. I feel very fortunate to be able to be part of this sport. And one of the things that I love the most about this sport is about the camaraderie, about the community that we built. See, I'm here talking to you guys. I just moved here in mid-January, and I'm here talking to you, and there is probably some other people listening to our conversation. And I've already had so many great experiences with other athletes and in enjoying the beauty of the Las Vegas Valley. So it's a sport that brings so much joy into our lives, and being able to be outdoors and seeing the sun and the trees and the nature. It's like it's got it all. Honestly, we are very fortunate to be part of this sport.
Yeah, it's a wonderful attitude. I appreciate, I like that.
Yeah, I think that is just a great way to sort of wrap this up, because I love the perspective that you have. I love meeting with you and talking with you, and I was like, oh, we got to have Jay on, because it's just so great to hear you talk about triathlon and just you enjoy it, you're thriving in it, and it's really fantastic that you came on and shared your journey with us.
And I appreciate you sharing your enthusiasm as well, because that's infectious.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. And I hope it can be an inspiration for someone that needs a little bit more of the energy to go out and get training and get going. This is an amazing opportunity we have to do this sport.
Okay, and speaking of that, just one last thing to wrap it up. What would you tell the new folks? We've got a whole bunch of new people doing their first triathlon is going to be our club race. So what tidbits or wisdom would you give to somebody who's just starting out?
Be organized and be consistent. I think consistency is key in triathlon. It's not going to work out if you have 1 week with a lot of motivation, then you have 2 weeks where you sit in the couch it's not going to work for you. You know, if you really want to be a competitive triathlete, and when I say that, I don't mean that you're going to be winning races or making podiums, but if you want to feel like you can go into a race and deliver, you know, on that race to the best of your ability, you have to really commit to spend time training. And it's hard, you know, when you have family, when you have a job, when you have other responsibilities, to go out there and to be able to train as much as we do, it's not easy. But I put in my mind that it would be a lifestyle for, as long as I live, I'm gonna be doing triathlon until my last day. If I given that gift, I want to be doing triathlon until my last day of life. And I'm gonna make sure that I
That's
find
wonderful.
some way and somehow to get some training, because that's brings so much joy.
I love it. Jay, this has been so good talking with you, and best wishes for a fantastic race Saturday, as well as we go to 2023.
You as well, John. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Saturday on the starting line.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun. All right. Hey, thanks everyone.
All right.
Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.